I'm going to bring up Krish, Marketing Technology Operations Lead at Nextdoor. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Morning, everyone. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about AI, another theme of the convention today. So my question for you, before I get into any of the content, is really, how many of your folks, or your companies here, have an internal data science team? Just a quick raise of hands. All right, quite a few. How many have an internal dedicated machine learning team? A little fewer. How many have an internal AI team? Even fewer. All right, so in the next 6 months, I'm going to ask that same question, and the answer is going to be completely different. And the reason why is what we're going to get into. So there's a sort of concept that's coming up. It's called AI Customer Experience Management. And here at Email Insider Summit, we're talking about kind of the email journey and how we're supposed to support that. But AI is going to allow us to really think about it in a much broader perspective. So a little bit about me. My name is Krish Sailam from Nextdoor, based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I lead the MarTech and operations team. I've worked at Dentsu and IPG on the advertising programmatic side of things. I do a little bit of B2B and B2C at Nextdoor. Proud father of 3 boys, an amateur photographer, and a sort of budding amateur futurist as well. And by amateur futurist, I just mean I come up with a lot of random ideas of stuff I read on the internet. If you ever want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm more than happy to. Feel free to reach out. So for you that are not familiar with Nextdoor, we're a platform where you are really designed to kind of come connect to the neighborhood that you're in and the neighborhoods that matter to you, so you can find a sense of belonging and a whole other set of resources in terms of plumbers, recommendations, safety alerts, things like that. There's a QR code here, so if any of you are not a neighbor on the platform, I encourage you to download the app and sort of become part of the platform. It's around your neighborhood. It's every neighborhood in the country. Currently, we're in 1 in 3 households in the US. We have over 78 million members, and we have over 60 million business recommendations as well. So people come to Nextdoor for a variety of different reasons. There's the concept of just knowing who your neighbors are in your local area. There's also about just the value of getting recommendations. There's a lot of public agencies like fire departments, police departments, things like that are quite active on the platform and help push out content during times of need. So you'll see usership really spike when there's natural disasters. It becomes a lifeline for a lot of people and sort of communicating resources that way. But it's also just, if you lost your dog, it's a great place to find your dog as well. So today I'm going to talk about a few key themes here of just really how you can infuse the concept of AI into your organization. Now, when I've been to a few different conferences over the past few months and webinars, things like that, what you quickly realize is that there's a lot of questions about AI. And the biggest question for probably everyone here in the room is, will AI take my job? And we'll get into that in a minute. But first step here is really just kind of learning. And before you get into learning, you have to think about what really kills innovation in a company. For me, and what I've seen in my career, is that politics is a huge barrier to innovation. So if your organization is very political, it's a huge red flag for the incorporation of AI, because a lot of people are going to try to protect their role, protect their team and their territory, and not necessarily do what's best for the customer. Customer expectations are going to shift dramatically in terms of what they want from AI and how they want it in the actual sales journey. So if you think about that traditional sales funnel, AI is going to be a layer in that now. It's like, what did you get from that AI system? What did it tell you? And how did you continue the rest of your funnel? The other thing that really kills innovation at most companies is that they're too busy. You all have a lot of work on your plates. There's been a lot of layoffs in the industry, and you probably have absorbed even more work over the past few months. But not making space to learn and experiment is a huge detriment to your company. You're usually shackled to your OKRs or your roadmap, and you say, I can't take it on this quarter, so I'm going to do it next quarter, or even 2 quarters out, or next year. And in that course of time, this AI system and AI sort of push is going to change a lot. Morgan mentioned that back in December, we were talking about AI. It was 12 days into the release of ChatGPT, and now look at half the agenda is around AI. The other thing is really trying to break down old assumptions. So a lot of our organizations are built around these legacy processes and sort of concepts. And we don't really go into work every day and sort of question everything. So one of the things I was thinking about on the plane here yesterday was a lot of marketing is really trying to bait the customer. We're constantly going out fishing. We put a little something on there and say, hey, if I give you this, would you come back? Or if I give you this, would you buy it? What if you could actually fish without any bait? A totally different concept. But what if you could actually drive behavior versus trying to predict behavior? So this is a chart I've used for a little while here, and it's actually been one of the core charts of how I've designed my team. And it's really sort of descriptive of a data-driven organization. So it's really, you have at the core the right tools, you have connected data, integrations, tech, measurement, and then surrounded by strategic partnerships, specialist skills, and agile processes. What I think is going to happen here is that you're going to see a fairly large change where the middle of this triangle is going to have a core of AI. Data-driven organizations are going to be AI-led organizations. This is going to be a fundamental change that we're all going to see in the next few months here. So you have to ask, the company I'm with, are they progressive, conservative, or just ignoring it? So are you an AI lover? Are you really ready to jump headfirst and really experiment with this stuff? It sounds like Adore.me is really doing quite a good job in terms of that. Are you AI curious? Are you scared to think, or are you scared? You just want to know some more? You're trying to figure out what the other companies are doing. And you're constantly asking, will AI take my job? My answer to that question is yes, it will take your job. Even if it doesn't right now, you should work with the premise that it will take your job. And that will force innovation in your company and force innovation in your career. It's a scary thought. But the fact is, there's this old Chinese proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is really ready, the teacher will disappear. In this situation, the student is something like ChatGPT. We're the teacher. We're providing it a lot of information. But that system's going to get a lot smarter and a lot faster. It's going to evolve very quickly, and we're not going to be needed as much at that point in our current role. What it will give us is a new opportunity to redefine our role for the remainder of our career. So it's up to us to really kind of force ourselves to become voracious learners, and we'll get into that in a second as well. The last thing is, there's going to be a bunch of companies that are AI deniers. They say AI is not personal enough. It's really lacking that human touch. But then for any of the folks that have kids in the room, all those kids are being raised in a new level of sort of just being AI natives. They're going to interact with these tools automatically. They're not going to see the difference. Their expectations are going to drive how we market over the next 5, 10 years. The one thought I would like you to take away from this particular slide is that AI is not the same thing as crypto. Crypto was the best thing on earth 6 months ago, 2 years ago. People were making tons of money. Fact is, 90% of the people in the room here today probably couldn't explain crypto in a succinct way. It's still really confusing. AI is incredibly approachable. It's going to be adopted very fast. Yesterday, when I was driving to the airport in the Uber, my Uber driver moved to the States from Rwanda 8 years ago, did a degree in hotel management. He told me his whole life story, and then we spent 45 minutes talking about AI. When your Uber driver is talking to you about AI and how it affects marketing and what you do in the social networking space, you know it's being adopted quickly. So one of the key things here is really learning. Be a voracious learner. The way I structure my learning agenda is really kind of these in 3 buckets. Going to the web, looking at different blogs. There's a few good blogs out there really kind of on the forefront of talking about how AI is focusing on the MarTech stack and the overall customer journey. I find, like Harvard Business Review is also writing some great articles on how it's changing companies' culture and things like that. And going to YouTube, simply typing in a thing like, I use ChatGPT to make X dollars in a day. YouTube has a great content recommendation engine. You're going to start to see some really innovative videos of like how people are using ChatGPT. And the goal here is really to kind of get some ideas of what it can do. It's not just a copy generator. It can do a lot more. ChatGPT-4 can actually see. You can show it a picture of your refrigerator, and it'll tell you recipes based on the ingredients it can see. So the goal here is really go back to your teams and say, I really want you guys to just read one article a month or a week. Come back to the team, discuss it, create a point of view on it. That discussion is really kind of form the basis of like how you're going to actually implement ChatGPT. The second thing is leverage your vendors and agencies. So we work with Iterable. They had a great showcase earlier this week about how they're incorporating AI into their product roadmap. So they're not only using it from a content generation perspective, they're using it for next best action, they're using it on workflows, things like that. So they have their version of the product roadmap that's infused with AI, but you also need to know like what else is going on in the industry. And I think it's really interesting to kind of think about what other vendors have you not considered that should be in your consideration set for AI. So I would really recommend setting at least 2 vendor meetings this quarter to do a QBR of where their product roadmap is and what they're planning to do with ChatGPT. If they have no plans of incorporating AI into their platform or roadmap in the next 6 months, I'd be very hesitant about renewing with them. The second thing is go to conferences. EIS, great venue, very intimate. There's a lot of great conversations here. And I think it's really important to kind of just listen to the hallway talk around like how people are thinking about AI. One of the things I tell my team specifically is that your 4-year degree has really run its course. There is no way that your 4-year degree is going to pay out in a 40-year career. You have to keep learning. You have to keep up-leveling your skill set here. So the other thing is play with purpose. And when we think about the concept of play at a company, it's really restricted by the concept of time. And I think in this case, one of the benefits here is creating a pod, a cross-functional pod. So you have your marketing team, finance, product, legal, engineering, creative, and so forth, to all think about like how AI could change things. Figure out one problem or opportunity, a use case, ask that pod to solve it with AI, ask them to play. Internally at Nextdoor, we do things like hackathons, which are a little bit more engineering and product-led, but having sort of this pod that can talk about operations and things like that is going to be important because it can affect both sides of your business. The last thing is really kind of come up with test and learn metrics for success. There's sort of product metrics. Let's say you're driving ad impressions or purchases, things like that, but you also want to be able to look at operational metrics as well and infusing those into the organization, because I think those are going to be just as important. So I think one of the people said that they went from 30 hours of content generation down to 3 hours. So that's a great metric to think about, and that's one that I think really makes sense for the broader company. The next thing is really start to learn how to become the internal storyteller of how AI fits into your overall stack. So one of my jobs as leading the MarTech stack in Nextdoor is helping people understand the different layers of our stack. So the bottom, let's say, 6 layers are where our stack was about 1.5 years ago. But now we've added a 7th layer at the top, is that there's an AI component. So we have an orchestration layer with multiple vendors in there, content layer with multiple vendors, and so forth. This becomes like sort of the Lego block structure of our stack, but AI really needs to be at the top and be able to see across all these components and start to really connect them completely. The other part of being the storyteller is understanding that AI will have a fundamental impact on your organizational structure. A lot of companies are product-led or engineering-led. It's rare that you see a company that's truly marketing-led, and sort of those are the golden children in the company. Even though, as marketers, we do quite a bit. There's going to be this sort of, in my opinion, this new AI organization. You're going to have AI product on the left, which is about creating new ways for the customers to interact with your product. And that's going to have its own product and engineering team, so that's a little bit external focused. Then there's something that I think is going to be more interesting is sort of the AI ops and CXM side of things. So AI ops, in my opinion, is really about creating the internal customer journey across 3 departments that were usually very siloed. You had a marketing team, you had a sales team, you had a customer success or support team. They rarely talked. All their systems really need to start to talk together, but AI is going to help sort of create the lubricant across these organizations. And I think these really need to kind of roll up into a new AI operations team. The other part of being a storyteller is that in each organization, kind of asking for permission or budget and things like that is a little bit different. And getting senior support can be difficult at times. I think it's going to be really important where we are in the course of 2023 is to say that you're going to need AI dedicated budget in 2024. That might be an uplift on your current contract with your current vendor. It could be adding a whole new tool to your stack. But making that budget ask now is going to be really important for securing your 2024 AI strategy. The second thing here is really kind of continually repeating and questioning. The AI story evolves on a daily basis. So it's really important to go back to your teammates, your senior leadership team, and continually tell the story of how this should affect our company, how this changes customer engagement, what we need from the customers here. And I think it's good to sort of create a culture of questioning everything in the company itself as well. So a thought I'd like to leave you with here is that AI is more than a technology. It's an organizational mindset. And this is going to be a really hard thing for a lot of companies to understand. And I think it's really important that we start to infuse it into the companies that we work with. And it's up to us to kind of take back a little bit of knowledge and say, look, there's a huge opportunity for us to kind of stop what we're doing today, take a step back, and see how we can do it totally differently with the help of AI. So with that, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Krish. Want to open it up to any questions from the crowd? Come on, don't be shy. I haven't heard one question from Ryan Phelan. Where is he? He's been quiet. Okay, Chris.
Where's his Nerf guy?
Yeah. For those of you who don't get that reference, I did get shot on stage in like 2015. Every time I got on stage, I would be shot with Nerf guns.
Hey there, Christopher from Chili's. As we talk about AI and what it's doing for us, it seems to be that most of it is ending up with a final product. It's not telling us how it got there. Do we think that that's going to continue to be the case, or are we going to learn insights from it, and that's what we're going to gain from AI in the future, of understanding why it gave us a final product versus the actual product itself?
It's a good question. So I went back and forth with my Uber driver about this one. And my take on it was that most people in the room want to know how it works or why it's doing what it does. My rebuttal to that was that AI is essentially like a child right now, and it's learning in the same way. But when you go to your kids, you don't really go to them and say, why do you think that? Or like, how did you learn that? You're kind of like, all right, I'm going to work with you and help kind of guide you through this conversation. And so I think for me, it's going to be a little bit more important on the output and using that versus constantly questioning where that output came from. Because I think there's going to be two large factions. There's going to be a lot of people that just don't trust it. They don't understand where it came from. There's going to be a lot of people who are like, yeah, it's good enough. 90% of what I wanted to know, I'm going to go with that. So the level of trust there is going to go very quickly. It's similar to what we saw 20 years ago with online purchasing, where people back then were really hesitant to put their credit card online and buy something from Amazon. Today, you would not think twice. So it's just going to be second nature in terms of just using it.
Wonderful. Krish, want to thank you for
Yeah.
joining us today. You're going to be hanging out for the entire conference?
Yeah, I'll be around.